We should be back now.
Great, thank you. So we do need now, coming back into open session, we need to take a roll call vote. So I will ask every member to indicate their agreement with the following. To the best of my knowledge, during the closed meeting, the only matters heard, discussed, or considered were those matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only those public business matters were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened. So Mary Estelle, would you please take a roll call vote for me?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Crawford?
Agreed.
Mr. DeLandro?
Agreed.
Ms. Dorsch?
Aye.
Ms. Drake?
Aye.
Mr. Flowers?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Moses Ned?
Agree.
Mr. Payne?
Agree.
And Ms. Reinhardt?
Agree.
Thank you.
Thank you all. With everyone's unanimous agreement with that statement, we will move to agenda item 10, which is our FY26 budget amendment and management reserve balance. I think we have Ms. Perry or Mr. Pittard that's going to speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Shannon Perry. I'm the Senior Director in the Finance Group. I will be walking you all through the FY26 budget amendment and the management reserve balance. So we're going to jump in like we usually do, talking about that high-level financial plan through FY31, the end of our project scope. So here across the top, what we're going to be showing is, of course, what you all just approved in May. So this is the FY26 budget, and we are going to compare that to the amendment that we're bringing to you all today. It was in your packet. So from that high bird's eye view in the financial plan, we have an increase of sources of $167 million. So new sources we're bringing in through this iteration. Additionally, we have an increase of uses. What we just talked about, those critical capital projects in the I-95 corridor, we've got an increase of $576 million. And what that is going to do is going to eat into that management reserve balance, dropping that $409 million to what we're going to be recommending is a $52 million management reserve balance as of June. So like we always do, we're going to dive into the details to explain what's driving these numbers, starting, of course, with our amendment changes. And I want to note, in the document, you'll note that all the changes pertain to the I-95 corridor. That is truly what's being amended as far as the budget changes go. We do have an operational change, which we'll get into, but let's start with the I-95 corridor budget changes. We will not go into the details. You guys got a great presentation from the operations team on what's driving these changes. So let's just talk through the numbers. So Long Bridge North, we are recommending a budget increase of $567 million. On the Franconia-Springfield bypass, we're recommending a budget increase of $127 million. And this next section here that we now have highlighted in blue, so all of these are those siding realignment projects. So some were being removed from the plan, some increasing slightly, and then a new addition. All of this is going to drive down the uses number by $86 million. So for total changes for this corridor budget, we've got $608 million. Now, offsetting that is some changes in our operations plan. I just want to take a minute to note that you all are well aware that we approve a one-year operations budget, so you will not see this change in the document that you receive, but it is impacting the financial plan, so we need to tell you what is going on with this. So in out years, we are reducing the amount of a charge for the Northeast corridor. There is a rather complicated formula that is in the pre-0209 methodology where states that have passengers that border a light in Virginia, but can continue on to Amtrak's Northeast corridor, there is a revenue sharing formula. 2 years ago, there was talk that this formula was going to be amended. And what VPRA had as an assumption was that this margin of 25% that we have historically earned from this revenue would start to erode over time. As conversations have progressed with Amtrak, it is clear that as their new proposals come out, their goal is to retain that margin for all of the affected states. We have further confirmed that with our strong relationships with Amtrak. So we are confident that that is going to be still within our plan. So how that results is they're actually reducing the amount of expense related to this interplay of our Northeast corridor passenger charge. So this is offsetting, again, the I-95 corridor changes of that $576 million and the changes in uses. So we're going to go ahead and jump over now to the sources side. Positive news here. I think everyone's aware that we signed an agreement with VPRA for a contribution for the Manassas line purchase, where they will be providing $155 million of funding. That was signed in April, just after our Q3 cutoff, so we're bringing that into our plan now. Additionally, the CTB just approved for VPRA to get FY26 PAYGO. So now that that's been approved, we are bringing that into our plan. Of course, that's going to be bringing us to that increase of $167 million. Across the bottom, you can see the iteration. That is now bringing our total sources to just above $8 billion. And you can see that ebb and flow in our management reserve, where it peaked in Q3, and now we're going to be recommending that we bring that balance to $52 million. And we're going to talk through that now. I'm going to start by showing the exact same slide that we presented in May. As you'll recall, we approved a very high management reserve balance in Q3. This was we discussed this in the terms that there is 67% of the program that required final construction pricing. Because of this ambiguity, we wanted to ensure that there was sufficient funding in the financial plan to cover the unknowns in our program. When we fast forward to today, we now only have 26% of the program that requires final construction pricing. We have a lot more assurances that we have a good concept of what it's going to cost to deliver the program. As you can see on the right-hand side, you can see that decrease of the balance. Now that we have more assurances on the uses side, it's important to note the management reserve is a risk mitigation tool, not just for the uses, our capital projects and our operations, but it's also for the sources side. We have two really big financings that are critical components within our financial plan that are currently undergoing differing studies to determine the debt financing capacity. This $52 million is critical to not only ensure that we can fund the projects, but that the sources will also be sufficient to cover those costs. So that's why we want to end with saying $52 million is not excess. It will still be needed to make sure that our financial plan has a sufficient funding to cover all of the costs. With that, we're happy to take any questions either on the budget amendment or the management reserve balance that we are recommending.
Hey, Shannon, it's Darian. Is a good way to describe this like redistribution in layman's terms is around moving dollars from a when needed to needed now category?
I think it's one way to put it, Darren. I mean, we've done a lot of work. I mean, you saw the siding realignment. We have new contributions coming into the plan. So the managed reserve did grow as a result of some work that VPRA had done, knowing that construction pricing was coming in. But now, yes, we are recommending that we take those funds sitting in the managed reserve and put them on the projects now that we are confident that they are needed there to fund those projects.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That was a great question, Darian. Any further questions? Okay, hearing none, I would request a motion to approve the FY26 budget amendment and management reserve balance.
So moved, Patricia George.
And then second, Darian Flowers.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsch and Mr. Flowers. Do I have, let's see. We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor of approving this motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. So with that, we have completed the business for this board meeting. Thank you for putting on the screen our upcoming board meeting dates. Just before we close out, I also wanted to mention that last week I sent an email strictly to board members, and I am going to refresh that email today, right after this meeting, to bring it to the top of your inbox. So for any board of directors who has not responded or maybe might have missed that email, if you could please take a look and send me a quick response at your convenience, that would be much appreciated. Any further comments or questions or anything you'd like to discuss before we close out this meeting today? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
too.
you all.